Hi, my name's Jeff Rhodes, and this is another book on Microsoft 365 based on my book, Creating Business Applications with Microsoft 365. So check it out if you haven't already. Get it on Amazon, and it's up there. And need some reviews. I appreciate the 5-star that we got, and it's selling pretty well. So what this is following up on our one from last week. So let's jump on that. So this is mainly in PowerApps today. I do have a slide adjustment in Power Automate I'm going to show you. So here we've got a calendar and I've got some openings. And what you might remember for if you watched it last time is we've got a Power Automate flow that's kind of complicated that wants to look for these open slots. And one change I did, notice this app, this Sue appointment one is actually free. So if we look at the status here, and so my one last week would have actually not given that as an open slot, but it's pretty common to have appointments on your calendar like some of your coworkers out of the office, and they'll say it's free so that somebody can still schedule a spot there. So we need to make that show as available. So I'm going to show you the change there, and then we're going to connect to it from PowerApps to this flow. So let's go into this flow. We talked about it last week. So you see I've got these inputs, and I wrote this part first. So this is going where we're going to pass in the start date and all that. And what we're going to do in PowerApps is load all those in there. And so I had a bunch of logic. I don't want to go through all that, but let me tell you how I fixed the problem with the showing if it's free. So we're going to come in, we check if it's a weekend. You might remember if it's not a weekend, we come in and then we're looping through our slots, and then we use this get calendar of events, and it will show us if something's available. So what we were doing last time is we say, okay, we're going to check through everything that's during that slot, and we reset this slot found up here to true. So we're assuming we find a slot. If there's nothing in there, then we leave that as true and we add it to our list. If it is there, what we were doing before is we were checking to see if the title, and so we did a to lower of that title, the subject of the one, if it contains focus time or planning session, and if so, we set a different variable, and we still leave that slot found as true. And what I've added here is in the else, what we used to do is we just set it to false. But now I'm going to go ahead and I'm grabbing this status. So if I kind of come back over here and go back into I've got all these things of my calendar view, the subject and so forth. And one of those is the show as status. You can see it says free, tentative, out of office, whatever. So I just say if it's not equal to free, then we go ahead and set our slot found to true, and otherwise we don't, or our slot found to false, and otherwise we don't do anything. So if it comes through as free, we treat it basically just like it was open. So one other thing you might notice at the last of that video is my chat failed, and I did this Teams chat, and what I had done right before the video is just delete that conversation, that thread, and what I found is I needed, after doing that, I had to sign out of Teams and then back in. So it should be working now, but we'll test that in a minute. All right, so instead of testing it here like we did last time, I'm going to go over to PowerApps. And just so that it doesn't, you don't have to watch me do all this, I've kind of set up our shell. So you see I've done date boxes. I've got start date, end date, start hour, end hour. On the start hour, end hour, I've said that these are numbers. Then I've done our time zone as a drop-down box, our user chat email. I haven't set it up yet, but I have a combo box. And then I've got these 3 check boxes, and I've got this error text that I'm going to check, but I haven't done any of the coding yet. So that's what we're going to do now. So we don't need to do anything with the start and the end box. Start hour and end hour, I'm going to put some logic so that it has to be between 0 and 24 because I'm limited to a number, but that doesn't help us more past there. But let's go over to the time zone. That's a fairly easy one. So what we want to do is come over as our items Notice we normally connect it and they just say drop down sample, but we can just make this our own little table here. So we'll say Eastern, Central. Remember, this is coming in as text, so Mountain and Pacific. There we go, and you see it did that. If I play real quick, it's going to default to Eastern, which is what I want in this case. And I could set it to something else, but otherwise I'll do the same in the event. So that's pretty good. All right, so let's look at this toggle. This one's kind of a bit of a hassle because it turns out that at least right now there's nothing that will say if I'm in daylight savings time or not. And so, but I don't want it just to always default to off. So I did hopefully a decent workaround. So let's just try that for now, just so that it's relatively close without having to go in and change it every single year for the current daylight savings time, because that actually varies, at least in the US. So I'm going to go ahead and go on start here and create some variables here just to get us going. So let's do that. So a couple that I'm going to want to do. So first thing I want, and this will come in later, but I'm going to make a variable called slots. I want to call it a variable. Sorry, I want to set this. And this is going to have to do with my return value. And we'll see when we get in talking about timing out. But I'm just going to call that blank. So that's the first one. And then I want to get the current month. And as with a lot of stuff, there's some nice little things. Notice it's a month function, and then it needs a date time. So we're going to just call this today. We could have put now in there, but we don't care about the time. So the now comes back with the time, and today is just the date. So that's good. And oh, I don't know why I want to keep calling this var. It's set. There we go. And let's see if I need another. I think I need one more of those. There we go. And then I'm going to do a similar thing. So I'm going to set the var current date number. And similar thing. That's the day. And I'll still use today. And then, like I always like to say, format text. And then I can tell that it's working and it looks nicer. All right. So let's do that. I can actually just say run on start here just to make sure those are set, which is kind of nice. And if you don't know where to go, you can come over to variables and kind of see. So that it's working. All right, so I'm doing this on the 18th. So this is 2/18, and then this has got no value. It's object null, so that's looking fairly promising. So, all right, so let's go back to this toggle. So we can just do some logic so that in general it's close. So we need to know that the daylight savings time happens in March and it ends in November, at least with the current laws. So we'll just do some so that most of the time it's right. So I'm going to say if var current month number is greater than 3 and the current month number is less than 11, because it comes back in November. Well, what that's going to be, this is going to be true. So we're going to say if it's greater than 3 and less than 11, it's always daylight savings time. And then, as you likely know, this is an if condition, what to do if it's true, what to do if it's false. So now we'll just do another one. So say those aren't true. So we'll say if var current month number equals 3, which is March, and current day is greater than 10, because that's kind of, I looked a few years in the future, it looks like it's never later than the 10, so we'll just say true. And then one more if, so we'll say if the var month number equals 11 and var current date number is less than 7, then it's true. Otherwise, of all that, it's false. Should be 3, so all of that. So that helps us get that. All right, let's go over to the user. Now, so for that, as you might have known from other videos, I need to get my users so I can look them up. So I'm going to say Office 365. I can pick the users right there. It's coming back here now. What I want to do is go to Items, and rather than Combo Box Sample, I'll use that Office 365 users, search users, always use the latest one, and notice the squiggly bracket, so we say search term, and now I've named this. Now I say user box dot search text. So that's the search item, and I usually just say like top 50 in case you're doing Smith or something, and I don't need the rest of it, like that. And then what we can do is do this fields here. I used to have to do it in the advanced, and I just learned I can do it here. Oh, even though it's not, oh, that's right, because I'm not quite done. Then I have to say dot, notice that's a record, and then I have to say dot value. Let's try that. It's always a little, yeah, there we go. Now notice that I can select. So I want display name to display and search on the display name as well. So one other thing I have to do here, see, I used to type it in there, but that's a little harder. So I want to say select multiple is false. And then I want to say searchable is true, like that. So let's try that real quick. So I'll say Jeff. Yep, that works. Sue is in there. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So that seems like that's working. Oh, and then there's one other thing I want to do though. So I want to come in and I'd like it to default to the user that's running the form, because most of the time that's going to be it, not necessarily all the time. So let me, it's relatively involved here, so we want to do that for the default selected item. I think a lot of times it's the default here. So we want to say first, and then we're just going to use that same Office 365 search user, but we'll say V2. And what we're going to want to do, so it's going to look close what we had. Whoops. So I had 2 of those. And I'm just going to use myself, the person that's put in. So I'll say user dot email. That should be like that. And then again, dot value. So let's try that. Whoops, it doesn't quite like what I have. Let's see. Oh, that's right, because I had first, so I'm missing a parentheses. There we go. And you can see it already worked. Put me in there, right there. Okay, good. So we're making progress. So last thing we want to do here is let's go ahead and do the logic on this one. So what we want to do is set the visible on that. So what we basically want to do is just do some logic. So we're going to say start hour box, if that equals nothing, or, and then we need it to be the number. So it'll be value less than 0. So we'll copy all that. We'll say or. Oh, actually I don't need this part of it. If it's greater than 24. So that all that will be, we'll want it to be visible, so that will be true if it's either blank, they haven't put it in, or they have invalid numbers. So we're going to say or. Now just copy all that in and change this to end hour. There we go. So that'll do those. And then the other thing we want to do is look at our email results box. Okay, so we want to say so we'll go or again. And we just need these to be checked. So we'll say email results box dot value or chat results box dot value. So if any of those are checks, then we need the user box to have a value in it. So that'll be an and. So we can just say if it's blank, the user box dot selected. Like that. And we'll test that. But right now, since those are blank, it should be it. So that's good. All right, so that takes care of that one. Now let's look at this copy current user. So what the intent there is if you pick somebody different in this one, so that you can also email yourself, like if I picked, Sue or whatever in there. So we might as well enable and disable that one correctly just to make it work exactly right. So notice this is display mode, but there's also a disable one as well. So we'll just cut that one and we'll basically say, so if, and so the first thing we want to do is we want to say first, just kind of like we did here, and we'll say user box dot selected dot email. No, it's mail here, isn't it? Yeah, mail. Equals current user dot email. So if they're the same, we might as well disable, because you don't need to copy the current user, because that is the current user. Okay. Or if they haven't checked these boxes, then it doesn't do anything. So in other words, there's no reason to check it if we're not emailing it or chatting it either way. So we'll say email results box dot value or chat results box dot value. So if either of those, all right, so let me get the logic right. So if either of those are, so if it's let me get these. So this is actually backwards. I can use the not thing. So if I need to change this or to and. There we go. So if get my parentheses there. So first of that equals, or we'll see if it's right. So what I want to do is, this will be display mode disabled. Otherwise, it'll be edit. I've got that one in the wrong place, so it should be there. Dictate table. And this should be selected items. There we go. That's better. Nice. So let's try all of those real quick. See if we've got them correct here. So we'll run this. So the minute, like that one, because this one doesn't match, but let's put somebody else here. So we'll put Sue. And then this is still disabled, but the minute that I check it now, I can copy user. So that looks pretty good. And then let's put, if I put 8, if I put 25, it doesn't go away, but if I put 24, that should actually work. So let's check that out, see exactly what I'm missing. My visible is not quite right. So let me pause for a minute and look at that. All right, so here we are. We can see, we're going to play with it a little bit. It should have been greater than 24 instead of less than 24. There we go. So that went away now. So let's come back and test that again. So if I put in 25 here, that comes back. Or if I put in -9 or something. Oh, it says it can't be put into a number, so it's basically a positive number anyway. But if I put 0 in or whatever. So, okay, that's good. So I'll leave in 8 and 24. Or actually, eventually I'm going to make this 17, so I might as well put that. All right, so we're getting towards the end now. So what the other thing I didn't put in, just so you could see it, is I want to go ahead and put in our display, and I want to put in HTML text here. So I'm going to put this whole thing like that, and I'm just going to call it the we'll just put it results. We'll call it results box. And what I'm going to put in here is that, remember that variable I made, which is var slots info. So that's blank to start with. But what I'm going to do is then when I go to submit this in there, I'm going to use use that value. All right, so we're ready now to do our Power Automate. I don't need this, but I should save since it's been a while. It will auto save, but I always like to do it. So I'm going to add our flow. And let's look at the one. Make sure you get the video send open slots on calendar. There we go. There we go. And what I want to do now on select is do our rest of our code here. Let's make that nice and big. So first thing I'm going to do is it's going to say if error label dot visible if that's true, then I'm not going to do anything. And then I'm going to do all the rest here. So only if we don't have any errors. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set that variable, that slots info, and I'm just going to put some HTML in there. So I'll just say, because what's going to happen, I talked about this last week, is On longer ones, this is going to time out, and that's why we set up the Power Automate flow to keep going with the email and the chat. So we're going to go ahead and just set some text there. So we'll say, this is a short set of slots. The results will show here. Otherwise, check your email and or chat for the results after you see the green notification banner. There we go. Alright, so we're going to keep going after that. Now we're going to go ahead and call our thing. We're going to again set the results to be the slots info. So that's what will come back from Power Automate. So we'll say video, send open calendar, run, and then we have to just put the stuff in the right place. So this gets a little bit complicated because we got to give it to them in the right format that we want. And this is where that test that we did and saw it wanted helps quite a bit. So we'll say start date picker dot selected date. And this, what this text does is put it in a particular format. So it wants it in that year, then whoops, dash, like that. And I'm going to copy that because we're going to want the next date the same way. This is going to be the end date. That, good. And we can see we're on date 1. Then it wants to know whether it's daylight savings time. So it's that toggle dot value. And then it wants text, and that's going to be the time zone. So we say time zone box dot selected dot value. And then we want to have the start and the end hour. So we're going to say start hour box dot text. And you might think it needs to do the value function, but it actually takes it as a number. And actually, if you remember, we actually put that in as text, but maybe it was number actually, but it seems to be able to work. But if at some point it failed, we might put this in the value function. So we'll say end hour box dot text, and then we want to have the email that we want to send it to it. So this is that user box dot selected dot mail, and then we want to have the email results box. This is a true false, and chat results box dot value. And then we want to say, okay, if, and this was the copy user box dot value, if that's true, then we want to send user dot email. Otherwise, we want to just send blank like that. Now we got to keep going till I think we need. So that should be the whole thing. Dot. I'm missing. Oh, I'm probably missing. Yeah, because that's only for the if. So I need one more parentheses. Dot. There we go. Slot text. So that's what comes back. Notice it puts it all lowercase, but that's okay. And then I need a couple more on our ifs. So let's see if that's right. And I'll format text, see if yeah. So that shows me I'm right so far. So all I got to do now is just do my notify. So I'll say notify request sent. Please check your email and or Teams chat for the results. They may show below as well. And we just say success here. All right. Lots of work here, but let's save. You can go ahead and publish, but actually I won't do it now so we can do it. So I'm going to get rid of that because I don't need it twice. So I'll just put my name here. I'll email, and I don't want to put it today's date. I want to go back and check, whoops, the 14th, or I think it was the 13th that we had those empty ones. So I'm just going to do the whole of the 13th. And I want this to be mountain. Actually, for me, it's not daylight savings time. And let's send open slots. So it's going to start doing that. Notice it put that bold, forgot the but it's a this is a short set of slots. But all right, other than that, looks okay. While we're waiting for it, let's just go over to Power Automate. Let's see if it detects that you can see it's running here, so that's good. We'll just wait for this for a minute. And well, since we're just sitting here, let's go look at it inside here, see where it is. So it's looping through the day, so it's only on the one day right there. Let's keep going back. Notice the three dots, or the multiple dots keep going across. So I'll pause for a minute until something happens. All right, so you can see this did actually time out. So we got the notification, request sent. Please check your email and or Teams chat for results. So let's go check real quick what the Power Automate looks like. It's still running. You can see, so it hasn't gotten to the respawn, but it timed out on the PowerApps side, so that's okay. Notice this is blank. That's why we did that variable. So the variable comes back as blank, and we're able to show the message there, but now nothing. So let me pause till we get the results via email and chat. All right, well, I just got a beep from Teams that I got a chat, so let's go look over at the run history. So you can see it finished, but this is where it timed out. But since we'd set that to continue no matter what, it went ahead and emailed and sent the Teams chat. So let me bring Teams over. So it showed us our slots for that day, the 213, and then let me move that out of the way and let me show the email that came as well. So we'll go over and check and see if that worked out. So let me go to my calendar and kind of bring that back. The email. So 8 to 10 was not there, but notice that that did work. See, at 10 o'clock I had that free appointment, but it still shows up as available here. And then we had previous logic that this planning session or focus time would actually show free, but have the word focus time, even though it says planning session. Either one will say focus time. So 10:30 to 11. Then 11:30 was free, so that shows. And then I had lunch, but then at 12:30 it showed up again. Skipped my 1 o'clock meeting, 1:30 it was free. 2 o'clock I had that focus time. 2:30 and 3 were free, but then skipped until 4:30 to 5. So looks like we're in good shape. So thank you for the patience on this. I hope it was helpful, and I look forward to bringing you another video soon. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. That helps more people learn about the videos. Thanks, and have a great day.